And Eamon de Valera actually had his own meetings with the Prime Minister of the time, Lloyd George, which is never talked about. It's never talked about. Collins is to blame for the partition, but what happened with Eamon de Valera? Eamon de Valera went over to Lloyd George and had a private meeting where the Free State was mentioned. Was it mentioned by mistake? Was it mentioned on purpose? But yet Eamon de Valera seems to get like a free pass.
Lloyd George pointed at a document that De Valera had brought over, which said at the top, Ser Stot na HÉireann. And Lloyd George said, well, what does that word mean? And De Valera replied, it's the Republic. And Lloyd George said, no, what does it directly mean? What's the exact translation? Now, Lloyd George clearly had his people working on this because it was a very clever question. And De Valera frowned a little and he said, well, I suppose the exact translation, Ser Stot, Ser Free, Free State. And Lloyd George went, aha, and thought to himself, that's something I can use later on.
Is Collins a saint, or did Collins make mistakes? Fucking right he did. He absolutely did. Collins was about 8 years younger than me when he was shot. Eamon de Valera lasted a long time in politics after this. And it's like in that Batman movie, The Dark Knight, live long enough to become the villain. Eamon de Valera didn't go, right? He went to the first meeting and he sent a group. People say it's Michael Collins' fault. Why aren't they saying Arthur Griffith's fault? Because he was the chairman of the delegation and he prioritised achieving a republic. He saw the treaty as a necessary compromise. What about Robert Barton, who was initially opposed to any compromise with Britain but reluctantly signed under pressure apparently? He later became a staunch opponent of the treaty. Why did he sign? Did they force him? Eamon Duggan, a lawyer and close associate of Collins, he believed the treaty offered the best possible outcome under the circumstances. George Gavin Duffy, a lawyer who had defended Roger Casement, he initially supported the treaty but later grew disillusioned with it. And notably absent was Eamon de Valera, of course.